Welcome and thank you for watching this video in which growing under hot condition is explained. So, growing under hot condition, all crop can suffer from heat stress at a certain point. Plants can only withstand a certain amount of heat and light. After a certain point, they will begin to show signs of stress. So, wilting and curled leaves and reduction in photosynthesis, that's the first point of stress. The second point of stress is stunting, lower leaf yellowing, burnt leaves, leaf distortion, delayed flowering and so on. So, optimal growing conditions. It's about preventing stress to your plants. And preventing stress, that means shorter cultivation time, better pest and disease resistance, less labor input, but overall a better quality for you and for your customers. Just preventing heat stress by heavy shading. Growing plants under high temperatures combined with low light intensity lead to inferior quality plants. So that is something you don't want. So, some plant physiology. Plants absorb a part of the solar spectrum that we call photosynthetic active radiation, PAR. And that is the light range between 400 and 700 nanometer wavelength. And PAR drives the photosynthesis process in which CO2 and water are converted into assimilates and oxygen. And assimilates, those are the building blocks for healthy growth. So the best way to optimize photosynthesis during the day is to provide much PAR light, but support the plant its ability to maintain water uptake and evaporation. So, keeping a balanced climate, forcing the plant to extreme evaporation rates can cause damage to your crop. So, extreme circumstances, so extreme heat, in combination with low relative humidity, means extreme evaporation by your plants. And that means your plants will dehydrate and start to wilt. And as a response to that, the plant will start closing the stomata. The CO2 uptake will be less because the plant takes up CO2 through the stomata, and less assimilates are made through photosynthesis. So, keep your radiations up, radiation or your PAR levels up, and that is possible by creating conditions with high humidity. So, because of the high humidity, the stomata remain open, the CO2 uptake continues, and the assimilates are made by the plants, which are the building blocks at the end. So, growing plants under high humidity during hot days means a smaller difference between the air outside the leaf and inside the leaf. And that prevents excessive evaporation by the plant. So, keep your plants active during the day. Remain radiation levels up to level, provide high air humidity and air current, and allow moderate high temperatures. All that it helps you with optimized photosynthesis, and that means growth. And there are several methods helping you to keep your plants happy. Avoid excessive shading. On average, not more than 40% shading. The combination of low light and high temperature can lead to poor quality crops. So what is the better option? Apply whitewash to the greenhouse in combination with a somewhat translucent shade screen. The whitewash reflects much of the sun radiation, and it prevents that it's absorbed by structures and heating of your greenhouse. Movable screens are in that sense the best option, because you can allow maximum light in early morning and late in the day, while during the midday you're blocking the heaviest radiation away from the plants. So dark materials absorb much of the radiation, and that's converted in thermal energy. So white colors, on the other hand, reflect radiation. So invest in reflective light colored shade screens and ground cover in your greenhouse. It will keep the temperatures moderate in your greenhouse. And you also have the illuminate shade screen, which diffuses the light, and that means that the light is entering the plant from different directions. So you will also get optimized photosynthesis. So another point of attention is keeping your greenhouse filled with plants. Plants evaporate, and that requires heat. It's supplied by the surrounding air, and that lowers the air temperature. And the positive side of that is that the air humidity in your greenhouse increases. And keep empty spots and pathway wet during moments of extreme heat. It has the same effect, but avoid splashing water onto your crops because that can promote diseases. And let plants get used to increased light and temperature levels gradually. The root system, just after potting, is not well developed enough to support excessive evaporation. So allow the plants to condition itself to high PAR levels step by step. By allowing higher PAR levels step by step, the plants are given more time to develop a healthy and widespread root system. Potassium and calcium that regulate the opening and closing of the guard cells around the leaf stomata. The plant needs sufficient potassium and calcium to regulate the stomata to prevent the plant from overheating. And the red dots, those are the potassium elements. And if they are outside the guard cells, through reverse or through osmosis, the stomata will close. When the potassium is moved into the guard cells, through osmosis, the water will go to the guard cells and the stomata will start to open. So, during moments of extreme drought, abscisic acid is produced in the roots and the leaves, and this hormone will force the stomata to close very quickly. That is a kind of protection by the plant to avoid over evaporation. But long after the water stress has been resolved, so your plants are growing healthy, the hormone remains active in the plant and prevents the stomata from reopening. So the plant cannot take any CO2 still, and you might think that your plants are growing, but because of lacking CO2, there's hardly any photosynthesis. So drought stress in the morning results in plant not to carry out any photosynthesis and therefore missing out of growth for the rest of the day. So avoid those stress moments at all times. Also, prevent accumulated salt buildup in the top layer in the pots. During hot day, plants must have easy access to water. So when you irrigate, make sure that the substrate leaches a little bit during hot days to prevent that salt accumulation in the top layer of the pot. And measure your substrate EC. If it's increasing all the time, it might get to a point that the plant experiences stress, which causes wilting, a root tip dieback, or increased sensitivity to PTM. And if that is occurring, so high EC in your pots and your plants are having stress because of that, bring back the substrate EC by replacing excess of the harmful salts by scheduling a one-time fertilized irrigation. Do that by a heavy leach at a somewhat lower EC. Irrigate and apply active ingredients early in the morning so that the foliage is dry before midday to prevent leaf burn. and analyze your water on high levels of sodium and chloride. If you find high levels of that in your starter water, consider a reverse osmosis system, or mixing water might be an option. And lastly, check regularly if the ventilation is fully opening, the whitewash density is still sufficient present, and the air movement by fans is still in operation. So creating conditions that keeps your plant active, that's your key to success. Thank you very much. And if there are any questions or you need help, you can always contact a sales rep, and within Syngenta Flowers we are always happy to help you. Thank you very much.